Summer arrived in full force on the Turkish coast, and so did more than 500 of the world's top shooters. The heat turned up high along the rugged shores of the Mediterranean, along with the pressure on all the archers at Stage 3 of the 2016 World Cup Tour.
Hi, I'm Danelle Wenzel from South Africa, and I'm here in Antalya shooting the World Cup Stage 3. This is a compound bow. It works by using the cable pulley system. I'm just going to speak about the cams. It's the circles on the top and bottom. Now this has this one string and two cables running over it. On the string there's a peep side and a D-loop. The peep side is a secondary reference point to align with your scope that has a magnifying glass in it, so you can align your bow perfectly. And it has a D-loop to hook your handheld release on it to draw your bow backwards so that it doesn't hurt your string. If you start archery, you'll start using this bow right here because it's really easy. It doesn't have a specific draw lane. You just shoot with your fingers and you need arrows and a bow. That's all you need to shoot. To the historical bows and this beginner's bow, there's absolutely no difference except the material that they used are more modern. So a beginner bow, you hold it with your fingers. For a beginner, you will hold 3 fingers on the bottom of the kiezer button, and that's different because you use a handheld for the compound bow, which you hook on the D-loop and you pull it with a release. What irritates me is when people say compound bow is easy, because it isn't. It comes into the consistency. You have to do the same thing every time, so it's a really difficult mental game. Why you want to start shooting a compound bow is because of the feeling that you get when you hit the X every time, when you get into that groove of shooting in the middle, and it's something different. Not a lot of people does archery.
It was a mental and physical test in Antalya as archers had to deal with soaring temperatures and the searing Mediterranean sun. In the mixed team bronze medal match, France had to deal with a tough team from Italy that had built a 6-point lead after the first 3 ends on Conialti Beach. France would open the 4th with a pair of 10s. A promising start, but a 9 from Sebastian Peno took a bit of wind out of their sails. Amélie Sansonneau would finish on a high note, but there was just too much ground to be made up. Marcella Tonioli would tack on another 10 of her own, leaving the honor of closing out the match to teammate Federico Pagnoni. Needing 5, Federico put his final shot right down the middle, leaving no room for doubt. This pair fell 7 points short of the new world record they had set earlier during the week with a perfect score of 160. But they piled up more than enough points to capture the mixed team bronze medal at Stage 3, Tonioli and Pagnoni pulling away to win by 6. Not much time for Marcella to catch her breath. It was a quick turnaround for Tonioli, who was back out on the line for the women's bronze medal match. And it was a tough draw on 2 counts. Turkey's Yeşim Bostan is one of the best young women on the World Cup Tour, and she had the home field advantage, with friends and family packing the grandstands here on the beach. And she was putting on the show they'd come to see, leading by 2 with just 3 shots to go, an almost insurmountable lead in compound. But Tonioli kept attacking. After a 10 from Tonioli, Bostan would counterpunch, keeping Marcella at bay. But only for a moment. After a 9 from Tonioli, Yeşim Bostan slipped a bit, landing her next shot in the 8 ring. Her lead down to 1. Marcella knew anything could happen. It's happened to her, so she gave herself every opportunity to salvage the match. That perseverance paid off when his Sheem could not seal the deal. A 10 would have won it, but a 9 forced an anything-goes shoot-off. After battling back and forth for 5 ends, this one would be decided by one arrow, a tiebreaker. Tony only had new life, but it was short-lived. She'd see red, while her opponent saw a second chance to put the match away. Yashim Bostan not about to let this opportunity pass her by. Bostan working overtime to win the bronze medal in a shoot-off. The first Turkish archer to ever compete in a medal match on native soil, making the most of that opportunity by winning the bronze medal. The men's gold medal match had the look and feel of an old-fashioned spaghetti western. 3 sharpshooters from Italy, led by Sergio Pagni, meeting the Killer Bees for a shootout at high noon on Conialty Beach. Braden, Bridger, and the Badger, real wild, locked and loaded, gunning for the gold. The Americans lost the gold medal match in Shanghai by a single point, but had bounced back in Colombia to beat Italy by 3. Now they were trying to go back-to-back. We'll pick up the match after 3 ends, the USA with a comfortable 8-point lead to start the 4th. But quit is a 4-letter word for the Sultan of Smooth. Pagni put one in the middle, paving the way for Michele Nencioni to follow suit, and the same held true for Federico Pagnoni. Meanwhile, Braden Gellantine had an answer for the Italian trio, and Bridger Deaton did his job. The Honey Badger keeping it in the gold rings. Italy switched the rotation and Pagnoni made the move pay off. Nencioni kept the run going with another 10. But the streak would end with Sergio. Truth is, it really didn't matter. The Americans weren't about to open any doors for Italy. After a big shot by Braden, the gold medalist from the 2014 World Cup Finals, Bridger Deaton, stayed steady too. And Rio brought the ship in. Give Italy credit. They took 3 points off the lead in the final end, but it was the old case of too little, too late. The red, white, and blue coming through with a 5-point victory that made it back-to-back wins on this year's World Cup tour.
Come on, give my guy the arrow.
It was a lot of hard work today. The weather here is beautiful, but it's extremely hot. And we had to be very careful with our body temperatures and just staying ready to compete because it's demanding. It must be over 100 degrees here, Fahrenheit, and Celsius, I don't even know. So we got ice cream together and just tried to stay close and stay united as a team. And I think that's our biggest strength, is just our ability to compete and be a team.
Hi, I'm Steve Anderson with USA Archery. Today I'm here to talk to you about compound release aids. Compound archers use a release aid to let go of the string. Recurve archers use their fingers. The release aid helps with accuracy and consistency. There are 3 different types of release aid: the index trigger, the back tension, and the thumb trigger. An index trigger like I'm wearing here is attached to a strap which attaches to the wrist. From there, the archer hooks it to the string and uses the index finger to activate the release. The advantages to an index release is that number 1, it's hooked to your hand, so it's always there, you can't lose it. Number 2, you can command it a little bit easier, meaning you can tell it when to go off. The bad thing about that is sometimes the brain tells it to go off when you really don't want to fire the arrow. The next type of release we're going to talk about is the thumb trigger. The thumb trigger works much the same way as the index finger, but it's activated using the thumb. The best way to use the thumb trigger is for the archer to rest his thumb on the barrel and slowly add tension until it fires. The advantages to the thumb release are the repeatable anchor point. It can be shot as a command release or by building tension. The bad things about a thumb release, again, sometimes the shooter's brain will want to hit the barrel before the shot is actually ready to be fired. The final type of release is a hinge or back tension style release. it operates without a trigger. Instead, it fires the string off of rotation. As you can see, the release is rotated from the index finger towards the pinky. It opens the hook and fires the arrow. The advantage of the hinge release is that you won't fire it prematurely by activating it with the brain, since there's no trigger to fire the release. The disadvantage is that sometimes in the wind, when it's hard to aim, you may fire an arrow without being completely aimed in the middle. Personally, I use the hinge release, but each and every person is different. The best thing to do is buy a few, try out all of the different types that you can, borrow some from a friend, and you'll find the one that works best for you.
Talk about red, white, and blue. The GBR would release a surprising pair on Coney Beach in the mixed team gold medal match. The accomplished Adam Ravenscroft joining forces with 21-year-old Daisy Clark in a clash with the Colombians. Sarah Lopez and Camilo Cardona, no slaves to fashion in the triple-digit heat. Wisely, they went with sensible white tops, trying to reflect ultraviolet rays as much as they could. What they could not seem to do was deflect the gritty Brits. Only 1 point separating the two squads going into the fourth end, where Daisy Clark, a stable hand by trade, comes up with a stable shot. Meanwhile, the bronze medalist from Copenhagen's World Championships almost did the same. It was as if the Raven was saying, nevermore. Oh, the temperature's rising for Sarah Lopez, who feels the heat after shooting a 9, and feels it even more when the match is all even at 132 apiece with just 2 arrows to go. But the Brits could not stand prosperity. Daisy wilted just a little bit, and so did the Raven. That is all the incentive Sarah needed. Lopez essentially putting the gold on ice with a nice 10 that put her compadre in position to close this one out. 9 was enough for Camilo Cardona and Colombia to eke out a narrow 1-point win and head off the upset bid by Great Britain. At the end of the day, the difference was winning the second end. The Golden Girls golden again, spreading some of that gold dust on Senor Cardona. We started a bit low, to be honest. Then, after a while, Sarah got back to her level, and I continued with mine, and that helped us do our job today, which was winning the gold for Colombia. Dalia Crook's just old enough to drive a car and talented enough to compete for a gold medal at a World Cup event. The 16-year-old American, backed up by Braden Gellantine, fought her way onto the stage by beating Govin, Marcos, and Bostan. But now the biggest hurdle stood in her way. Sarah Lopez, the keeper of the key to archery's gold vault, and prying that out of her hands would not be easy. That was clear after 3 ends, with Lopez methodically building a 5-point lead. The pride of Wichita, Kansas, would open the fourth with a 9. Sarah kept a steady grip on the situation by matching that shot. Crook could not up the ante. But it seemed Sarah couldn't either. The lead remained at 5. Finally, Crook would connect. Dalia scores a direct hit and shifts a little pressure over to target 2. Lopez would lose a point off her lead, finishing the fourth end with a 9. So could the 16-year-old Dalia Crook come all the way back with just 3 arrows to go? All things seemed possible when she started the fifth end the way she finished the fourth. But she woke the giant. Sarah snapped back with a 10 of her own to stem the tide. Crook, not discouraged, she just kept coming, and Lopez just kept holding her off, making the shots that have made her one of the top compound archers in the world, male or female. Dalia would strike gold one last time before all was said and done, but her charge came too late. A 9 on the line would be just fine by Sarah Lopez, who keeps her personal gold run going. That's 3 in a row for the reigning World Cup champion, who beat Sarah Sonicson in Shanghai, won a shoot-off with Crystal Galvin in Colombia, and held off Dalia Crook here on Coney Alty Beach. I think it's difficult because there's obviously the mental pressure, but I have worked for this. It's a dream I have had since I started to shoot. I wanted to be one of the best, to become a legend. Whatever happens in the World Cup final this year, I will be okay. Because you asked for it, the powers that be thought it would be interesting to see what would happen if the top-ranked female took on the top-ranked man in compound archery. Since Sarah Lopez has been so dominant, posting scores every bit as high as the men, everyone's been wondering, what if? So Mike Schlosser graciously accepted to participate in this experiment, squaring off in a battle of the sexes on Coney Alty Beach. Too bad it all fizzled out early when a broken knock knocked Sarah out of contention. That miss on her first arrow of the second end pretty much ending the conversation, at least for the time being. But Lopez took it in stride, regained her bearings, and started shooting the way we're accustomed to seeing her shoot. At the same time, Mike Schlosser was tending to his business and doing it all in good humor. Lopez definitely back in business herself when she finished the next end with a 10. So now the question became, what if? What if the knock had not broken? What if she hadn't recorded a missed shot? Conceivably, the match could have been even going into the fifth end. But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, well, my, what a Merry Christmas we'd all have. The missed shot did count. Lopez did trail by 10, and barring a collapse of epic proportions, Mike Schlosser was going to win this battle between boys and girls. It's a shame when something like this happens. It always is when misfortune strikes, impacting the outcome of a match, even one that's just an exhibition. To be honest, Mike Schlosser had nothing to gain and maybe a lot to lose when he agreed to go head-to-head with Sarah. So as far as he's concerned, all's well that ends well. But the question still remains and will probably linger till the next time Sarah Lopez gets to stand on the line and trade shots with a man ranked number 1. Earlier on Compound Saturday, in a match that really did count, the Russian Federation fought its way into the women's team gold medal final. It didn't come easy, Russia having to beat the USA in a shoot-off and then edging India by a single point. The Dutch down by 7 midway through the fourth end, Inge van Kaspel doing what she could to help the Netherlands catch fire. But this 8 from Martien Kouwenberg threw water on the flickering flames. Not much Irina Markovic could do at this point besides making the final score respectable. Natalia Avdieva proved to be a powerful presence, showing the way for 2 young teammates. Filling the shoes of Albina Loginova and Maria Vinogradova, 15-year-old Elizaveta Korolova and 20-year-old Alexandra Savankova. Korolova closing with a 10, and Savankova putting the finishing touches on a 10-point win for the Russian Federation. It may not signal a changing of the guard, but it is an indication of the depth being developed in the Russian program. And judging from this performance, the future appears to be very bright for the Federation. Today it was very hot, and the temperature was about 40 degrees Celsius. There is not always a possibility to think about how to shoot during this hot weather. The wind was also changing frequently, and if I had shot more to the left, the girls should do it more right or to the center. It was difficult, but we have done that. With very little fanfare, Croatia's Dom Budin had secured a spot at the World Cup finals before coming to Turkey. But he was in the spotlight after making the men's bronze medal match after wins over Dominique Genet, Mario Cardoso, and Damir Elmaachla. Now he could really make a name for himself if he could find a way to get past Mike Schlosser. The 22-year-old Dutchman is a bit of an enigma, something of a mystery. So good during qualifying and eliminations, Schlosser hasn't been quite as successful in medal matches. And that was borne out once again in this battle with Bouden, who led by 2 after 3 ends. Schlosser starts to make a stronger case with his first arrow of the 4th end, but Bouden's equal to the task. Mike's making his move, getting in a groove, but he needs some help. And it's not coming. Dom drills another 10. Schlosser can't gain ground and might lose ground after that 9, and that, in fact, was the case. The Croatian connects again, running the table. Bouden bumping the lead up to 3 with just 3 left in the quiver. The 5th end will open with Schlosser, barely getting back in the 10 ring. And he gets a point back when Dom Bouden falters just a bit. But the Dutchman puts himself in jeopardy again, opening the door for Bouden to nudge that lead back up to 3 again. No can do, the lead stayed at 2. Now though, Schlosser's down to his last arrow. He makes it count as much as possible, but it's out of his hands. The Croatian's in control and he clinches the biggest victory of his career. He'd shown signs of this at Stage 1 in Shanghai, where Dom Bouden finished 8th. At Stage 3 Antalya, Dom Bouden takes a major step forward, not only winning the bronze medal, but holding off one of the most talented archers on the planet to accomplish the feat. The men's gold medal match, a Turkish delight. Who to root for? Evren Şaharan, 74th in the world, won all 6 of his matches in the elimination round to reach his first World Cup medal match. As luck would have it, he'd have to face his 19-year-old teammate, Samet Can. He also ran the gauntlet, surviving 6 elimination matches, including a shoot-off with hard luck Mike Schlosser. So it was Turk versus Turk for the top spot on the podium. And it appeared Evren would lay claim to the valuable piece of real estate after jumping out to a 5-point lead in the first end and building the lead to 7 after 3. Samet would strike back though. He's on target with the first shot of the 4th end, while Evren would veer slightly off target just a little bit with this shot. So the steely-eyed Samet couldn't duplicate his previous shot, and that would prove to be a problem after Evren regrouped and found his way back into the middle of the target. So would Samet, but at this point he was basically running in place. His Turkish teammate not budging an inch, or a millimeter for that matter, so the lead stayed at 7 with 1 end left to play out. Evren using Damir Elmaachla's backup bow to full advantage after having problems with his own bow. Apparently, some of the luck Damir acquired winning the World Cup finals in Mexico City rubbed off on Evren. All he had to do was be consistent and keep him in the gold rings. 1 down, 2 to go. Meanwhile, after stumbling at the start, Samet had his act together, putting together a good group, but he knew the score. The damage had been done. It was steady as she goes for Evren Şaharan, who knew the gold would be his as long as he avoided a major mistake. Samet Can would finish up strong. 3 straight 10s for a total score of 139. Not bad, but not good enough on a day when Evren Şaharan was good from start to finish. A lot of love between these 2 fellow countrymen who both got a big round of applause from the partisan crowd witnessing history. Turkish archers competing and medaling in World Cup matches on their home turf. Of course, having to shoot with my teammate gave me a little comfort, but it meant that only the winner would proceed to the final stage of the World Cup. This was a tense situation for us. We were both excited. We wanted to have a thrilling match, but something happened that made the contest less exciting. Still, it made us proud to shoot this final for Turkey in Turkey.
Ama Türkiye adına burada birlikte final atmak bizi çok gururlandırdı.
So this short World Cup season is over, and Sarah Lopez finishes miles ahead of the pack. The Colombian sensation winning 3 straight gold medals to rack up 75 World Cup points. 2 Americans, a Dane, a Dutch archer, a Turk, an Italian, and one of India's finest will try to knock her off at the World Cup finals in Denmark. On the men's side, Mike Schlosser's still the man to beat come September. He will face stiff competition from Rio Wild, Sergio Pagni, and Damir El-Maachla, among others. We'll see you in September with our coverage of the finals on Archery TV.
Wow.